Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Back to 12 podcast here on the Back to 12 podcast channel. And you know what, Lyle? We've had enough people ask. I say we put it on Spotify. What do you say, man?
Hey, I got a Spotify subscription myself. So I think that's definitely a great idea when I get my workouts on. It rarely happens these days, but when it does, I like to
Factual.
hear a little motivational podcast. So I think it's a good idea, brother.
There we go. We'll put it on Spotify from here on out as well, but you should check out the YouTube channel. I'm RC, that's Lyle. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about a kind of almost coming to Jesus type win for the Red Raiders. It felt like so many curses were lifted off of one man's foot with one kick in overtime on Saturday at Jones AT&T Stadium against the Longhorns. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about, one of Lyle's best games in college in Manhattan, because, that's where the Red Raiders will be headed this weekend to face off against another top 25 team and the Kansas State Wildcats. But Lyle, I'm kind of teasing it a little bit in terms of, saying it was like a coming to Jesus or like a cleansing type moment. But you got to think about it this way. The last time Texas Tech beat Texas at home, you were on the team.
I'm pretty old too.
Well, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying,
I'm not trying to say that. Hurt, my back hurt nowadays. So back with that, I could go run a sprint. Nowadays, it kind of hurt a little bit to run those sprints. So it's been a while, man. But like I said, it's a great win for Texas Tech, and I hope people realize too. Like I said, we have the greatest fan base in the nation. I'll stand on that. Texas Tech is one of the hardest places to play. But I hope everybody understands too and doesn't get out of control and realize we're still a team in progress. It was a great win. And I hope the people that that I hear talking out there give Kittley and give all these coaches the credit that they deserve, because like I said, that's there's some calls that he made that I know people were talking trash. I know, 4th and goal, we don't get it. What are we doing? So I mean, you got to give hats off to the kids and also to those coaches. But I just hope the fans realize and don't get out of control and be like, hey, we should be number 5 in the country. We should be number 2. Like, no, that was a great win.
A lot of people saying we should be ranked. And I'm just like,
right.
Not there yet. I don't think it's there yet.
And secondly, just that lets you know how good of a team North Carolina State is. Because if we're being honest, I think it was a great win. But I think Texas is not that great either. So even though me personally, I picked them as my dark horse to, win the Big 12, they're really not that good. So I hope we understand, give them their credit where it's due, but not get out of control. But overall, I think it was an awesome win. I think that it was great for Coach Maguire and his program and everything that they've been doing to kind of, get some instant gratification in a sense. What do you think about it?
I think stop me whenever you want, because I'm about to go on like a probably 2 or 3 minute rant here about what I think this win means for Texas Tech. Stop me wherever you think maybe I'm being too fanny. Maybe I'm just going over the top. You stop me whenever you want, Lyle. Feel free to interrupt.
I got my whistle just in case.
Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. By the way, that was a great song back in the day. Blow the whistle. Is that too short, right? Too short? That's a great song. Anyway, I digress. This victory for Texas Tech, and I mentioned it in the open, cleansed so many demons, in my opinion. Everybody has gone back to when Leach was here. Every time when it comes to UT coming in here and just most of the time, let's be honest, beating the ass, like beating Tech's ass. Like, let's just be real about it. There's been a couple games where Tech has hung in there, but most of the time when they come to Lubbock, get your ass kicked. This game symbolizes a change in the trajectory of this program that Texas Tech has not had since you were a player, since Mike Leach was here, because of this. And I think if you want to know where this program is going, you have to watch one clip, and it has nothing to do with what happened on the field. It's the clip of Joey Maguire post-game saying, I told you they were going to break. I told you they were going to break. all the work you put in practice, all that mental preparation that you put in pays dividends because you're mentally stronger, you're more physically prepared than Texas. Now, first of all, if I'm a Texas player, holy crap, that's the ultimate slap in the face. But Joey Maguire is right when he says that. And this is the toughest football team mentally and physically that Texas Tech has had since you have played football at Texas Tech Lyle. And that's no disrespect to any of the Cliff Kingsbury teams. That's no disrespect to anybody that played for Matt Wells. No disrespect for anybody that played under Tommy Tuberville as well. This is different. Like, these guys are 1,000% bought in. And these players at Texas Tech have not been 1,000% bought in since Mike Leach was here. It's that simple. Yeah, there were some times where you had some fun watching Texas Tech football. Remember when Cliff Kingsbury started 7-0, right? That was fun. But then it went downhill really fast. I don't see it going downhill really fast. Is Texas Tech going to go and win every game for the rest of the year? Hell no. No, they're not. But you can see right away that the most important part of building any program is buy-in in every player, every GA, every staff member, every volunteer, whatever, every person affiliated with this program is 1,000% bought in. And that's something you haven't been able to say about Texas Tech football in a very long time. And that's why I made a video on the channel that says Texas Tech has next in the Big 12. I'll be honest with you, Lyle. I've been very skeptical of a lot of things that have happened because, well, it's the first year for a head coach, right? Like, it is difficult to be successful at the Power 5 level, really any level, in your first year of coaching, right? Like, it's just difficult. It's not your guys. We've talked about that before on the podcast. But Joey Maguire and Zach Kittley, Tim DeRuyter, Hamby, Emmett Jones, so on and so forth down the line, Coach Perry, right? These guys have done something at Texas Tech that no coach since Mike Leach has done, and that's made Texas Tech football fun. Now, fun can be frustrating too. Trust me, there's some frustration involved in fun. But the thing is I don't know the last time that I actually looked forward in terms of like completely looked forward to a Texas Tech football game. Like, it's always fun to watch it, right? Just because, hey, that's my alma mater. I cover it. You know, I'm affiliated with the program, whatever. But it's actually fun to watch Texas Tech football right now because you actually can go into every game you play realistically thinking you have a chance to win that game. And that's something that Texas Tech hasn't had since Mike Leach was here on a regular basis. And now, obviously, this is a week-to-week type game, really a day-to-day type game just because of practice and everything. But that mindset that the players have, and you can see it from these videos that Texas Tech posts, it's just kind of changed my whole philosophy on this Texas Tech football program in terms of, hey, I thought this was going to take a couple of years, and maybe it will, but it's getting to a point now where it's like, damn, this is happening a lot faster than I anticipated.
Yeah, no doubt. And, I think to be fair to those other coaches, it's been a lot of things. I think the difference is, too, everyone has bought in for him as well. I don't think that, everybody before them have got the buy-in that he got. The rules have changed. Now every single kid on the Texas Tech team gets $25,000. So it's a lot of elements, to be fair, that they're getting that other coaches did not get. Like I said, nothing to take away Coach Maguire. I think he's different than the other coaches for sure. And everything he's done, he's building. But it also makes it easier when everyone's come together. I think Texas Tech has always had a huge fan base, but it's always been some over here, some over here, some over here. I mean, now everybody has come together. They're building a new building, a top of the line. So he's going to have a top of the line stadium, $25,000. Like, he's getting a lot of perks that other coaches did not get. I want to throw that. It's easy to tell a kid, come to my school and show them all the new stuff. When we were there, we had arguably top 3 worst facilities in the whole Big 12. So, you're asking Coach Wells to come down or Cliff to come down and get a kid, and he can go to Texas, OU, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and be like, dang, this is way better. So we got to be fair to those other coaches on that aspect. And then 2, I just, I gotta stop you on the first part. I think it's changed, but Tech is always known to beat. We're going to beat Texas or OU one time out the year. Now, the rest of the season will tell us how it goes. Because, like I said, even when I was there, we always beat OU once, or we always beat Texas. Never did we beat them both, or Oklahoma State. except for 1 year we beat them. But usually we get a big win somewhere. But then we're also going to get a loss of someone that we probably should have beat in the past of what it's been. And so I think, credit to them, all the credit's due. But I think it'll tell how they act coming back off a win. Are they able to keep winning, or did they fall back a step because of that win? No, we obviously saw that after a loss, they're able to come back together and continue to play. But we'll see how it goes on some of these teams that we shouldn't beat and we should beat, how they play. And I think that's the biggest thing about Texas Tech. And we talked about this last time. I love Texas Tech with my whole heart. There's no better place in the nation. But I mean, if we're being honest, we're a middle class Big 12 team. We've always been, except for 1 year. And so I think that it will change. We could get it to change, but I also think the reason it will change is because you could say, hey, look at this nice facility. Hey, we could pay you this. That's why it's going to change, because I tell people that all the time. Most of my team is from West Texas. We got a lot of good kids from West Texas, which I think Coach Maguire is doing. But if I'm a kid from Dallas, there's nothing about Lubbock that makes me say, I want to go out there. You're far from your family. The closest city is far away, especially for your parents to come watch games. So I hear people say all the time, it's not hard to recruit in Lubbock, but it is. Until you build something. Basketball is a little different because they've been winning, going to national.
But that's changing now, right?
Yeah, it's changing, but I think we've got to take a significant jump for it to truly, truly change, just like basketball. We made the national championship. We got top-notch facilities in the country. So we get players different. We don't have top-notch facilities in football yet. We haven't won a Big 12 championship yet. So I think that's the difference. I think it's going to take us to win a Big 12 championship to really get those top-notch players. Because like right now, what's going to make a kid leave Dallas away from his home to come all the way to Lubbock when he could stay in Dallas? For teams that have won Big 12 have done that.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing, like you're talking about, because I agree somewhat with it. I think that now, and this might be the most underrated factor that people don't talk about when it comes to Lubbock recruiting or recruiting to Lubbock, is Lubbock has an airport. And I know that sounds very minuscule, but like these teams like Manhattan, like in Manhattan, Lawrence, Waco, like you can't fly there. And I get it. They're a lot closer to metropolitan areas per se. But that's a big factor. And I get it. Flying isn't cheap, but whatever. It is a part of it, I think. I do think that narrative has changed quite a bit in recent years. And I think a large part to do with it is social media. And the reason I think that is because social media connects you a lot faster to where you need to be. We all know that. I mean, whatever it may be, whether on Facebook, Twitter, doesn't matter. I think social media has a large part of it, but I think also Texas Tech has done a really good job of making sure they know where their roots are as an alumni base. And Dallas-Fort Worth is a huge alumni base. Now, not every kid that you go recruit in Dallas-Fort Worth that even has roots to Texas Tech is going to come to Texas Tech. It's just not how it works. But I think Texas Tech has done a great job in various sports getting people highly connected to those areas, whether that's, on staff or recruiting in terms of, hey, we need, a little bit more eyeballs out here or whatnot, right? So I think it's changing. It's just, you hear it all the time and in terms of you can't recruit to Lubbock. I think that's changed drastically for respective sports. I think football is starting to get there. And obviously you're right. When it comes down to it, the facilities and being able to say, hey, you're going to get $25,000. Like, yeah, it's going to get my attention. You know what I mean? And that's just the baseline. But I also think that you have guys out here that kids want to play for, just simple and plain. And I think that's something that Texas Tech really hasn't had on the recruiting front in a long time, probably since like Cliff Kingsbury first couple of years, in terms of like, hey, I actually want to play for that coach because he's going to get me to here. And that's where I want to go. Perfect example is Tim DeRuyter. If I'm a defensive lineman in the state of Texas and I'm, a 4-star recruit, I'm getting recruited by, the Baylor's, TCU's of the world, and Texas Tech. I'm going to see Coach Fitch right there. And then I'm going to see Tim DeRuyter and see what they've done in terms of getting guys to the pros. And they've done it at a high level, right? Obviously, that's just one position group. But that's a big thing, too, that you can actually go in and say, hey, I have a resume. I've gotten guys there before. I've taught guys that, hey, you can go from Texas Tech to the pros. Emmett Jones, same thing. You know him very well at the wide receiver coach position. That dude has gotten countless guys to the pros in his career. And I think that that's something that's very much needed at Texas Tech and slowly changing is the fact that on the recruiting trail, you have guys that deserve and have earned respect more than anything. When I feel like obviously coaches have earned, and I'm not trying to, slight a coach or anything like that, but there's a difference between this coaching staff and previous coaching staffs. When you go up and down, I mean, just think, for example, if you're a wide receiver, Lyle, you were recruited. If you see Zach Kittley recruiting you, you're probably going to want to go play for him.
Right. And and I think a perfect example of that is if Cliff goes to USC, does he win? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If Lincoln comes to Texas Tech, is he doing the same thing he does at OU or USC? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? And like Cliff was Lincoln before, or it was the same. He's the same guy. But the difference is, like I said, it's getting guys to come here. Cliff put kids in the league. Cliff is on GQ magazine. Cliff played at Texas Tech. Like, what's one reason a kid wouldn't want to come play for Texas Tech? Or why would a kid go to OU and play for Lincoln rather than come play for Texas Tech? I can tell you why. The facilities, the jerseys. Like, you play in front of 100,000 at OU, you play in front of 60 if you win every game at Texas Tech. As soon as you take an L, you're going to move on down to the 50s because that's just how it is. So, I don't know. I just always felt like that. If Lincoln came here first, I don't know that he wins 12 or not 12, exaggerating, but 10 Big 12 type. I don't know if he wins that here at Texas Tech. Sure. It ain't because he's not smart. Cliff is a smart dude. Cliff's winning in the NFL. Like, what's the difference? And I think that's what I mean. I don't think that you can't recruit here, but you could go look at kids. I like to look at their Twitters, and a lot of times you got kids that are either going to OU, Clemson, Ohio State is their top three. Whereas when you see Texas Tech, it's Texas Tech, Houston, and some other school. It's not. It's never Texas Tech, OU, Texas. You know what I'm saying? We're just not in that category yet.
Well, that's where this money's big, though, right? Like, I mean, I think that's where it changes things in terms of where Texas Tech is, and I think that again, this is why this win this past Saturday against Texas actually probably means a little more than people think. That's the last time that you're probably playing Texas in Lubbock just because they're leaving, first and foremost. Second of all, the way you did it and the fashion you did it on national television, nonetheless, right? And then you've got some of these videos going viral, and then people start to look into your program a little more, and then they realize, oh, okay, they're starting to do some things, and some of those things are the $200+ million going into the facilities. And by the time it's done, obviously we both know it's an arms race when it comes down to facilities. As soon as that facility is done by Texas Tech, it's going to sound terrible, but it's outdated. This is how it is, right? Like, that's just how it is. And, you're a little less outdated than you were before. And it's needed, don't get me wrong, but that's just how it is. This is a ever-flowing cycle. And I think a perfect example is seeing Clemson. It seems like every year they're doing something to their facility, right? And Texas Tech, do they have a chance to become Clemson one day? Maybe, who knows? I don't know, right? But now you have the backing, and you talked about it earlier, and I think this was the biggest point both of us have made in this conversation, is this fan base is no longer divided. And that is the biggest thing Texas Tech has going for it. Because if you have everybody in Red Raider Nation going in one direction, this program is just going to go skyrocket up, because that means funds. That means social media presence. That means players are seeing that. Players love. You know that on social media. They see it every time, right? You want that. And then you have the on-field success to back it up. It's going to the moon type stuff.
The sky's the limit, and like I said, they do a great job too of allowing their alumni, including myself, to come back and be a part. So, I mean, hats off to them and everything they're doing. I don't want anybody to think that I think otherwise, and that Texas Tech can't be top notch. It can be, and it will be, I believe. But you just got to understand, people got to understand, when you bring a recruit from, I've hosted a lot of kids. When I brought them here, they're like, hey, what the hell? What is this? Where are we at? And so for some of these kids, it's a culture shock. Whereas I'm a West Texas kid. When I got here, it looks just like Abilene. So to me, I'm like, dang, this is great. So I think a lot of times too, it's just culture coming out here, people are used to different things in Houston and Dallas. When they come out here, it's a culture shock if you've never been out of here. And, I've had some kids I brought a host, and, there's a dust storm, and they're like, dude, is this a tornado? Do I go to shelter? What do I do? And I'm like, nah, man, it'll pass. We're all good. So I think that's the biggest part. I think once they get into Lubbock, never had a problem with somebody enjoying Lubbock and having fun. The problem is getting them here when they first get here and kind of allowing themselves to be open to see what Lubbock's about. And I think once they do that, they love it. It's a stick, but it's getting some of those kids are very hard. They're like, I don't want to go. Or you take them to some place that, plays some country music that they're not accustomed to. I think that's the type of stuff they have to open up and allow West Texas to really get that full experience. And once they do, it's a wrap. It's so I've never had a kid that came and opened up and said, I hate it here. They loved it. But I also had some guys that came that was like, nah, and didn't give it an opportunity. So,
but winning also helps, right? And I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this Texas game a little bit. You mentioned Donovan Smith shutting some people up. I raised my hand for those people that were watching on YouTube. Definitely shut me up. This is by far the best game that he had or has had as a college player. I mean, I don't think it's close. The poise that he showed in the pocket, the countless fourth downs that he made, whether that was with his legs through the air, it doesn't matter. And we talked about it last week in terms of what were they going to need to do to adjust offensively. And you ran through it in terms of, hey, it's easier said than done to actually adjust, right? But they actually did it on some of these things that we talked about. And one of the things that I brought up was like, hey, why the hell are we not using the RPOs and the tight ends more? And then like the third play of the game, they did it. And I literally almost texted you. If I had service, I would have been texting you and be like, damn it, I swear to God, Kittley's listening to us. And I was just thinking to myself, like, man, this man has to be listening to us. Cause like they would do one thing where I was like, I said that. And then there would be like 2 plays later, it's like, literally Lyle said that too. And then I was like, oh, okay. Like, and then the play that was just like the chef's kiss for me in terms of like what we had talked about was that Baylor Cup touchdown where it was an RPO with Brooks. Donovan pulled it and they got Cup out into the flat to make an easy throw in space. And I was just like, I swear Zach Kittley was listening to us. It was the only logical thing. Obviously, he's a smart man. He doesn't need to listen to us. But it was one of those deals where it was like, man, this man's listening to us. It was that confirmation bias. But what stood out to you from this Texas game? Because there were so many things that I thought Texas Tech did at a level that we had not seen from them. But the biggest thing for me was just how they responded. They were down 31-17 with 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter, and they still win this game.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think Kit's been doing this type of stuff. He may have added a couple of formations in that thing. But to me, the biggest thing was people caught the ball. They did a lot of stuff. He ran with Donovan a lot, and he just found ways. Like a lot of our throws were quick, fast. We didn't really throw it down the field a lot because we can't. And so I think the difference was, though, these guys made catches. I know the backs had a lot of runs, like Donovan had 15 carries. And so, you got to give that man credit as a quarterback running the Big 12 with 300-pound plus defensive lineman every time. And there's times he's carrying people. So, like I said, I thought that was a great adjustment by Kit, add that extra blocker with that running back, run with your quarterback because he's a big dude. He's very big. And he's physical, and so I thought they did a good job of just making the simple plays and adding some razzle dazzle. But like I said, that was a great catch. I mean, that was a hard throw by Donovan. That was a great catch by that young man. And so I think that's the stuff that we gotta remember. Once again, everybody made plays. Like they made plays and did stuff to help. And throws may have not been the best, but they caught it. And I don't think in past games we've had that 100%. I felt like the O-line would miss a block, or we miscommunicate, the running back miss a hole, the quarterback drop or throws a bad throw, then the receiver drops the ball. So I think it was an overall unit. The defense is going to be good, but I also thought they did a good job of managing the clock. And I felt like the fact that they went for it and didn't get it is what added confidence. Like the fact you look over there and see Maguire be like, you want to go for it? Go for it. That's confidence, man. When you could look up to your head coach and he has enough faith in you, trust in you to go for it. Because I know me personally, I'm yelling like, hey, kick it. And they go for it. And you know,
I loved it, man.
I think if they didn't do that, they don't come back, because that was the mentality the kids took. Like, hey, we're going to go for it. We're coming back to win. And so, you know, like you said, he knew they were going to break. Well, he was a leader in that thing by allowing them to do those things that he did and not play scary and not play, you know, he played to win. And he let them make calls that were, you know, risky. And if we didn't win, we'd be having probably a different conversation and people be talking a lot more. But that's just a part of coaching. You know, I've learned you risk it. Sometimes it pays off in your favor. Other times it doesn't. But you got to believe in what you're doing. And like you said, he believes in what he's doing. Every coach, every kid, every person in the stands. I don't think anybody was worried about it. Like, I really don't. I didn't even ever feel like we were out the game. When it was 31-17, I didn't feel like we were out the game. And so, like you said, that's credit to them and Kit. And, you know, like I said, it felt like that since the Leach era. And I think that's the biggest thing. I know Leach always made us feel like we were supposed to win. Like, you know, like people stormed the field in 2008. When we got back to the locker room, Leach made it seem like we were supposed to win. Like, what are y'all hype about? That's what we came here to do. That's what we're going to do. And so I think that mentality is kind of coming back with Coach Maguire. Everybody's going to celebrate and have fun. It's fun to celebrate with the student body running out there. No better feeling, I promise you. But I think the mentality is, like, he got back in the locker room, like, we're supposed to win. Don't go acting like you're surprised that this wasn't supposed to happen. This was our game. What we were supposed to do.
6 for 8 on 4th down. Just the cojones on that man. Well, multiple dudes. I guess it was Zach Kittley and Joey Maguire. You talked about time of possession, right? And like, we'll transfer into K-State after I bring this up. 100 plays to 60. Texas Tech ran 100 plays, Lyle.
They probably ain't done that since 2008.
I'd have to go look, but that was unbelievable to me. And also, shout out to the offensive line. I thought they played a lot better in this one. That's the thing. I think that's the biggest thing for me in this game is if the offensive line just takes one thing away, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be okay, and we got you. And that's what happened. I mean, I didn't think they were perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Donovan had to work some magic, but you leave there with a win, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do in that situation. We transition, though, to K-State, Lyle, and you've had a pretty good day in Manhattan, Kansas before. 3 tutties, 3 catches, solid day. 3 more touchdowns and 3 more catches than I'll ever have in college football, I'll tell you that. But it was because, like my hip and my shoulder, or else I would have been there,
What the
in high school type
really
stuff.
know is it said Leong on the back, but inside it was a young RC. We won't tell anybody else that. We don't want to get NCAA violations at Texas Tech at this point, but
yeah, it was a 13-year-old or 14-year-old RC out there actually playing in Manhattan, which makes it even a little bit more impressive.
Hey,
if we're being
stud
honest.
muffin, folks. I know he's a humble man. Stud muffin.
Yeah, you don't want to see me run a 40. I'll tell you that much, mostly because paint dries faster. All right. So we're going to Manhattan, Kansas on the Red Raiders this weekend. Wow, they're going to end up playing 5 top 25 teams in a row when this is all said and done. Because you play Stillwater next week, and I don't see a way where Oklahoma State falls out of the top 25. So you're going to play 5 ranked opponents in a row. And K-State, they were my dark horse to win the Big 12. And I'll say this. You had me in the first half, Lyle, AKA 2 weeks ago, but I got you in the second half with that Oklahoma win on that prediction. Tell me what it's like to play in Manhattan, because I think the analysis is there. Texas Tech, we know what Texas Tech needs to do to win this football game, right? Like, Texas Tech is talented enough to beat Kansas State. There's a lot of demons that they need to, take away, because the last time that they won in Manhattan was the game we were just talking about where you caught 3 touchdowns. But what is it like there, and why is it so difficult to play in Manhattan, Kansas?
Man, I think it's just a tradition of Kansas State, what they believe in. And I'm be honest, I really, out of all the places I played, I didn't really think that was a super hard place to play. I think that they play good at home, but it's an open stadium. So it wasn't one of those stadiums where I felt like it was super loud, you couldn't hear. It's one of those stadiums I feel like it was open, so you can hear, you can hear the quarterback giving calls. You could talk to your teammate next to you. And I think that's one of those things. I think the 2 things that helped Texas Tech this week is they came off a tough game against Oklahoma, probably are on a high, from beating those guys. And number two, like I said, it's more a relaxed environment than Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State next week, it's tough. It's a tough place to play. So anytime you play away from your home, it's tough. But I like the fact that it's not going to be deafening. It's not, the crowd isn't over you, and it allows them to kind of breathe. And playing my first game, I was a young cat, so it just allowed me to breathe. It allowed me to talk and see. It's different when you can't hear the man next to you, and it's crazy atmosphere. So I think for those guys, it's a more, I don't want to say relaxing, but it's not like a OU or a Baylor or Oklahoma State type atmosphere.
Okay. Yeah, and some names to watch are obviously Deuce Vaughn. He was the offensive, preseason offensive player of the year in the Big 12. Dude's a stud. It seems like they always seem to have one of these running backs at K-State. Obviously, Adrian Martinez. I don't know how he still has eligibility, but he does. He's actually just turning 33 years old. That is a joke, but barely. No. He's been in college a long time, but I mean, if he plays like he did up in Norman last weekend, Texas Tech is going to have their hands full, as he rushed for 4 touchdowns last week in Norman. Just unbelievable type stuff. And then there is connections Texas Tech has to K-State, as the head man of the athletic department played there. 4-year letter winner. Kirby Hocutt, he played for Kansas State back when they were in the Big 8 conference, and was actually there 1993 and played under Bill Snyder and everything like that. And he actually graduated from Kansas State in 1995. But when it comes down to it, Lyle, I think that this game is pretty straightforward to me. If Texas Tech plays their game in terms of we know what they're capable of, they don't play a game like they did in Raleigh, but they play a game like they did against Texas, or they play like a game like they did the first half against Houston, they're going to have a chance to win. It's that, but I think that they can beat anybody in the country, maybe not in the country, in the Big 12. I'll say that because the Big 12 is wide open this year. They can beat anybody in the Big 12 if they play like that. The thing is you have a lot of demons there, and you already got a few of them away against Texas. And it just feels like to me, Lyle, that this is kind of like the cleansing season almost for Texas Tech. And what I mean by that is in year one of Joey Maguire, I think you're going to cleanse a lot of these demons away so they can just take that next step in year 2. And then they continue in year 3 and then in year 4, so on and so forth, right? Where you can't talk about, hey, when was the last time Texas Tech did this, right? They're going to get rid of that stuff. So I feel confident going into K-State. I will say this, might be dumb of me to feel confident to going into K-State. I can wholeheartedly admit that. But I think Texas Tech, and I'll say this too, because I want to give Donovan Smith his credit. I think he should be QB1 moving forward. I think he's earned it now. I can admit I was wrong on that. He's the guy. I don't care if Tyler Shuck comes back. It's Donovan Smith. But give me your prediction for this one. Lyle, again, number 25 K-State. The over-under on this one is set at 57.5. So where are you going on this one?
I'm going over. I'll never doubt you again, kid. I'm sorry for underdoing you every week, brother.
That's how I feel too. I got it. I got the over. Give me the over. We don't even need a score on this one. Just give us the over. I'm taking the over as well on this one. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think you're going to tell very early on though, Lyle, if Texas Tech has a chance to win, because an 11 a.m. kickoff in Manhattan, Kansas does not sound like a lot of fun to me. But hey, you got to win. Good football teams can play at 2 a.m. if they need to. So we're going to see what kind of football team Texas Tech is in a true road environment, really for the first time in conference play under Joey Maguire. Real quick, let me get my other bets out there. Lyle, if you disagree, by all means, got a couple of minutes left here on the podcast. I got Oklahoma responding. I think they just beat the brakes off of TCU. They cover. I think over in the Oklahoma State and Baylor game. That should be a fun game. I'm surprised actually game day's not there this week for that.
Right.
Iowa State, I think, ends Kansas's perfect season. You were talking a little shade on Kansas, but rightfully so. There's no reason for them to be number 1 in any of these polls. It's just stupid. Stupid. And then West Virginia at Texas. Give me the over in that one as well. But Lyle, it's going to be fun, man. I'm excited. Texas Tech football is fun again, man. When was the last time we were able to say that? It's been a while.
Been a long time. I think we were both 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, you know? No. Yeah, I was, well, I mean, I was 14 catching touchdown passes in Manhattan, my guy. So it is what it is at this point.
And they banned you 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I lost my eligibility. And then, it takes like 3 years for the thing to, really kick into gear, and then it hits my bank account. And when it hit my bank account, everything was over.
You'd be rich. You wouldn't do this podcast.
I know, man. I was just born at the wrong time. Blame my mom. It is what it is. He's Lyle. I'm RC. We appreciate you tuning in. Lyle, where can they follow you on social media, my man?
Hey, Coach LLEONG.
There you go. And you can follow me at RCMB323. And if you haven't already, hit that damn subscribe button. We just hit 800 subscribers. We appreciate all of y'all, but we're trying to get to 1,000 by the end of football season. One more time, he's Lyle. I'm RC. Y'all know what to do and where to go for the latest Texas Tech news. Listen to the Back to 12 podcast channel.